So sweet, yeah, I need it from you. Got my hands all on you, sweet. Everything I want is sugar like yes, please. Love is like candy. Sweet, yeah, I need it from you. Got my hands all on you, sweet. Everything I want is sugar like yes, please. Love is like candy.
Hi, and welcome to a new episode of the Let's Talk Melbourne podcast, where we are doing a countdown of the top 10 movies of 2024. And for the third year in a row, I am so excited and privileged to have one of my favorite people to discuss movies in Australia, Julian Wright, our returning champion. Welcome back, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me back on.
How's the year been for you, Julian? I know before we started recording, you asked me that, so I thought I'll flip it and ask you how has your year been? How's your
It's been a good
2024 been?
year. It's been interesting. I've had some big life changes. I've had highs and lows. I've spent a lot of time at the cinema, spent a lot of time at home watching movies and TV shows. No, it's been good. It's kept me busy. It's been a big year. How about you?
Oh, I've just been working nonstop, and this podcast is taking more time of mine than I would have liked, but I chose it, so that's where it is.
Keeps you out of
Hey,
trouble.
yes, yes, it does. Hey, just curious, before we jump into our top 10, the Golden Globe nominations came out last night, this morning.
Oh
Any
yeah, I
thoughts?
was asleep. I woke up to the news. Yeah, so I had a quick look this morning. Yeah.
Any thoughts? Any surprises? Any snubs? Any
Ooh,
complaints from your
off the top of my
perspective?
head, gosh, I really should have studied it a bit harder. Well, obviously, I was so thrilled that The Substance picked up a bunch of
Yes.
nominations, I believe five. Um, Look, a little bit unusual that they're all kind of like in the comedy musical category, but I mean, look, it was wild, it was wacky, there was a lot of laughs, so it makes sense.
Makes sense.
Um,
It was funny. Yeah, it was kind
it
of
kind of
funny.
kind of reminded me of a few or several years ago when The Martian was nominated, and that was nominated under the comedy categories, and people were like,
Yes.
"What?" But I
What?
was
Yeah.
no, I thought it was hilarious. I laughed a lot. So
Well, at least it was better than The Tourist being nominated for in the comedy category, I think.
oh
You
yeah,
remember
that's
that
right.
horrible, horrible movie? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. No, yeah, I've been happy with the acting nominees. I haven't seen it yet, but Pamela Anderson for oh gosh, what is it? The Last
Showgirl?
Showgirl.
I think The Last Showgirl. Yeah, it hasn't
Yeah,
come out in Australia, has it? No, I haven't
yeah,
seen.
haven't seen it yet, but fantastic. Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl, which I'm so keen to see as well.
Oh, same. Yeah.
Yeah, so excited. So no, it's got me pumped for stuff that we haven't even got yet.
Awesome. All right, so we'll get into it. We'll do a countdown as always from 10 to 1. And what
Yep.
I'm going to do, Julian, is after we've done our countdown, I'm going to play a small game with you, which we have introduced
Cool.
it this podcast, this season, or maybe last season, I can't remember. Furious 10, so I'll ask you 10 rapid fire questions. You don't have time to think and you just have to answer. So it could be something like, I don't know, beaches or mountains, or but it will be a little more controversial than just say beaches or mountains. So giving you a heads up right now.
Okay, cool. No worries, I'm prepared.
All right, so let's kick in. This is Julian Wright and mine top 10 movies of 2024. We're going from 10 to 1. So, Julian, what do you have for us at number 10?
So number 10 for me was Fly Me to the Moon, the Scarlett Johansson and oh gosh, I've gone blank.
Channing
Who was in
Tatum.
it?
Channing Tatum.
Yes. I was gonna say Ryan Gosling and I was like, no, that's not right. Oh no, I've gone blank. Um So yeah, a rom-com that I look. I'm not really into rom-coms, but it was just such an awesome throwback to old school Hollywood comedies. The lead characters, they hate each other and then they like each other. So cheesy, but it was just like such a big grand scale backdrop, history. Well, they rewrite history, which I actually enjoyed that aspect of it. I just laughed all the way through, and I thought Scarlett Johansson was so great, so charming, so smart and sassy. And it was just seemed like something that she'd never done before. So I was just completely was swept up in it.
I have to admit, I have not seen that movie, and I was meant to watch it, but it just slipped out of my. But I will check it out since you've put it on your top 10. That's something for
Yeah.
me to go and see. My number 10 is
Mm.
I've done cheating. It's a tie between two movies. So
Mhm.
it's two Bollywood movies that I've seen this year. One is called Bhool Bhulaiya 3 and one is 3 2. So one's a third installment in a franchise and one is a second installment in a franchise. But they are
Okay.
both horror genre movies. I love horror. I love the genre of
Oh,
horror movies. And but this was
yep.
something, both were something very interesting. I think the first one, Bhul Bhulaiya 3, sort of introduced a conversation about, gender normity and trans and a lot of deep
Mm.
sort of conversations in a very simplistic way, but to the movie's credit, it kind of worked. It didn't have to give us it wasn't didactic, it wasn't preachy, it
Mm.
was very low key and simple, and I really appreciated that. And in the other movie, which is 3 2, it was just a very fun time at the movies, and it was about men trying to control women and then women trying to just be
Mm.
themselves, and how that doesn't necessarily sit well with the patriarchy, so to speak. So yeah, these
Mm.
two movies, apologies, it's a tie, but it's at number 10. These two are my picks for
Love
number
it.
10. What's your number 9, Julian?
Number 9 is Memoir of a Snail, an Australian production. I I just loved it. It was so depressing and heartbreaking, and yet so sweet and funny at the same time. It was just this, and probably because it was animated, like I think it was stop motion. So I really did think if it had actual like human actors in it, it probably just would have been the most depressing movie on the planet. But because it was animated, it gave it this charm, and it was able to kind of tackle things with such a different aspect to it. And it was some of the hardest I laughed at the cinema this year. I saw it with a group of friends. We were just cackling at this story, which was also so depressing at the same time. Um, just an absolute achievement to me. Yeah.
I still, again, I haven't seen that movie, so now you're adding movies in my to watch list, which I appreciate. That's why I wanted to have you. My
Yeah.
number 9 is going to be a surprise pick, and it's a complete B movie. It's called The Beekeeper with Jason Statham. It's a
Oh, yeah.
silly, it's a silly, fun
Yeah.
movie.
Mhm.
It's a genre movie again. I think what it does very successfully. You've got like
Mhm.
this Hunter Biden type character in it, and then the president is funny, and it doesn't reveal all its cards at once. But I mean, come
Mhm.
on, Jason Statham, I like an action movie, and it's not great, but who cares? I just don't want everything to be great and groundbreaking. I enjoy fun, and this was a fun time at the movie. So number 9, Beekeeper. If you haven't watched it, please watch it.
I did see it and I
Oh,
did
you did see
thoroughly
it.
enjoy
Good.
it. It really was such a really great, solid Friday night movie with popcorn and a beer or something. Yeah, so satisfying. Didn't make my top 10, but yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. So, what's your where are we now? We are at number 8.
Number 8, yes. So
Yes.
Challenges for me was number 8. The Zendaya tennis film. Love story between her and the two male characters. Gosh, it was. And look, I'm a little bit rusty. I saw it way at the start of the year, but it was just. I remember the tennis sequences, the tennis match sequences were just so. I was like on the edge of my seat. I'm not a sport person, not interested in tennis. I honestly don't even know what the rules are, how to play. But
Yeah.
those sequences were so incredibly well edited. The music was great. The story and the actors were fantastic. And it was just the dynamic between the two male friends as well, where it kind of crossed over to like a little bit of homoeroticism, but it kind of didn't go too far. It was just like real subtle suggestions and stuff. They were really great mates, but there was something a little bit more there.
Yeah.
Um, and Zendaya was just fantastic. She's just a force. Probably a little bit too long. I remember it being a little bit long, but I just was absolutely wrapped up in the whole story, the whole world of it. It was great. I loved it.
Awesome. Do you know what? Challenges is my number eight as well, and I love this movie. I am a big Luca Guadagnino fan. I love all his
Mhm.
movies. I know, there's this conversation whether he's a good filmmaker. I don't care. I enjoy his movies. I agree with
Yeah,
everything you said. I think there's such undercurrent of sexual tension between all three of them at every
yeah,
given point in time when they're together. It's uncanny. I think the
yeah.
music by Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor is, oh my God,
Mhm,
blew my mind away. I remember
mhm.
watching at the cinemas, and the music was just instantly like a banger after banger they were just
Yeah,
producing. The
pumping. Yeah,
climax shot at the point of view from the tennis ball, again, a kind of a
yes.
climax I had not seen before, was fascinating. And those
Mhm.
simple that sign scene between the two boys was so good. I think Josh
Mm.
O'Connor playing this very slimy, kind of unlikable guy with a lot of swagger was so enchanting, and he was so good.
Yeah,
And yeah, Zendaya's character, I think she's fantastic, as you rightly said. I mean, she's living
yeah,
vicariously through these two boys. She wants to win
yeah,
because, I mean, through these two boys, and she wants to control.
yeah.
It was so toxic, but so endearing at the same time. So yeah,
Spot on.
yes, yes, I'm big, big, big Challengers fan. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So number seven, we had to number seven.
Yeah. Number seven, I had Inside Out 2, which I watched at home on Disney Plus. I missed it at the cinema, but saw it at home
Yeah,
and just was absolutely pleasantly surprised. It was just, I mean, look, Pixar are so good. It was Pixar, Disney. They're just so good. They're so clever. And I don't know, I guess I didn't see it straight away because I thought, oh, another sequel. But they just nailed it. And what I loved about it was, you know how like a movie will come out and it's successful, and then they're like, oh, okay, we're going to make a sequel. And then they like kind of add superfluous characters. We need more characters and more story and stuff like that. The genius thing about Inside Out 2 was because the young character got older into her teen years. So then these extra emotions or characters came into it, but it just seemed so organic. It really did feel like there was more genuine story to tell. And just how she, anxiety came into it and just her interactions, with her family and friends and stuff. And then what was going on inside of her head with her emotions as well. Just absolutely genius. I loved it.
awesome. My number seven is, I actually like Inside Out. I love Inside Out. I think it's a
Mhm.
fantastic pick, and I'm so, so, so glad. It didn't make my top 10, but I'm really, really happy that it's on this list. It's one of
Yeah.
the best movies of the year, and everything you said, I agree with it 100%.
Mhm.
My number seven is The Brutalist, which I actually watched it on Sunday as a part of the Jewish Film Festival here in Melbourne. And
Yeah.
it's 3.5 hours long with an intermission. I had to get like a
Intermission. Yeah.
whole, like a bag of nachos before intermission and then ice cream and popcorn after intermission because it's so long.
So
Uh,
good.
but it's a great movie. It's got some bold
Mm,
ideas. I think it's directed wonderfully, impeccable direction. It's shot. It looks amazing. It's shot on film,
mm.
and the performances from Adrian Brody, like he's definitely getting an Oscar nomination. I wouldn't be surprised if he even wins an
Wow,
Oscar. He's that good in this movie. I
amazing.
wasn't a big fan of Felicity Jones, but to me, the biggest surprise of this movie was Guy Pearce. And I kid
Oh,
you
wow.
not, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets his first Oscar nomination in his illustrious career for this movie as Best Supporting Actor. He's
Oh,
so good. He's this
amazing.
capitalist, American capitalist, who sort of fights for American exceptionalism, and but he's still
Mm,
so ruthless and practical and charming and devilish, and it's quite a stunning performance, absolutely. And it's got some of these really big, bold ideas on American exceptionalism and capitalism, and fleeing prosecution and assimilation, and many, many themes. I thought the second
mm,
half was a bit too indulgent, and it was
mm,
quite calculated and calibrated, but the first half
mm,
was riveting. It was like it was impossible to take your eyes. Like the opening scenes, you don't know what's going on. You just hear noises, and then once it's revealed what that scene is, you see the Statue of Liberty tilted from a point of view, and fascinating, fascinating movie. I really, really like this movie, in spite of the fact that it's frustratingly long. It's
Mm.
bonkers. Like if you're going to be ambitious, go all out. Like shoot for the stars, right? Who cares if you
Yeah,
don't if you miss the mark a bit? But bold
that's
ideas,
it
ambition, and really good. Sorry, I rambled
for
on about the
sure.
movie list. I just
No,
realized.
I love it. I'm so much more keen to see it now because, I mean, of course, yeah, I was like, oh, 3.5 hours, but then I love that they've included an intermission, so
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. Kind of takes it back to those way before our time, but I guess like the old Gone with the Wind days where they would have
correct.
had an
Yeah,
intermission. But yeah,
I don't
that
think
old school cinema.
Titanic was also 3 hours long, but I don't think it had an intermission. I don't think so. I don't
No,
remember.
I don't recall. No, don't think so. We just had to sit there the whole way through.
Without any alcohol. Imagine at the times, I don't even think you could take. Well, I couldn't
Oh,
drink. I
that's
was
right.
maybe
No,
10 or 11 when
no.
the movie came out, but going to
Yeah.
it was funny. All right, what's number six on your list, Julian?
Number 6 for me is Dee Dee, which we had, oh, I think it might have finished its run. We got a Perth festival that's running at the moment. There's a segment of it is the film festival. So it played as part of the film festival, Perth festival here. And it was just stunning. It's about set in 2008, a young 13-year-old Taiwanese American boy basically coming of age. On paper, it kind of seems pretty standard stuff, his relationship with his friends, and then, his first crush on a girl, and then he's, meets like the cool group and sort of turns his back on his old friends to hang out with the cool group, but then also incorporating like Facebook, YouTube blogging and vlogging and the start of that. But it was done in such an incredibly authentic way. The cast, I presume, other than Joan Chen plays his mum, amateurs, I believe. I don't think they really have any kind of, experience, but they were so natural that at times I forgot that it was a feature film. It just felt like a documentary, which, for a young, like they're kids, they're like 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, I presume. And even so real, like they are playing 13-year-olds and they're actually that age group, as opposed to, other, movies where the teenagers are played by 20-year-olds. They have acne, they have, pimples, like actual genuinely teenage kids. And I just got so wrapped up in it. Everything just like nailed it. It was so authentic. Like when he's messaging on the computer, like Messenger and stuff like that, it just all came across so genuine. I loved it. Yeah, it was amazing. It was quite an experience.
I I don't know if it's come out in Melbourne unless I missed it was a part of film festival. I haven't. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think it's.
maybe. I'm not so sure when the general release will be, but yeah, we were just quite fortunate that we got it here for about a week, I think. So yeah.
Cool. My number six is Conclave, a movie that I love. So it's essentially a movie about popes being died and they're re-electing, not re-electing, sorry, they're electing a new pope, and it's the
Mm,
election process of it all, and it's like any election, it's got deal making, politics, dirty campaigning, and
mm,
all of those sorts of things. It's a lot of fun. But to me, the best thing about Conclave are its actors. I think Ralph Fiennes is so good in it. Isabel Rossellini has
mhm,
this one scene stealing scene. She's
mhm,
incredible, and even in the scenes where she's not having any dialogue, she's just looking into the camera. She's fantastic. And I think
mhm,
Ray Fiennes brings such warmth, such sincerity, such integrity to his
mhm,
performance. He's processing, he's doubting, he's communicating, he's doing so many things at once, and you can see on his face like he's literally reacting to everything, taking in information,
mhm,
communicating through his face. He's just brilliant. So, and
mhm,
it's shot amazingly well, and it looks great, and it's like a thriller.
mhm.
Yeah, so Conclave, I would highly recommend it. I have a lot of love for this movie. I'm pretty sure Ray Fiennes will win an Oscar unless if Adrian Brody kind of derails his spot.
Yep. Solid choice. I actually just saw it last night. So
Oh,
it's
did you? Yeah.
very, very fresh. Yeah. And look, I must admit, no spoiler, it's not in my top 10. I I don't know if I probably have to sit with it a little bit longer. because it's just so fresh. Like I literally just came out of it last night. No, completely agree with you. It was such a fascinating, like, the process of it was interesting, and then like the politics of it all, and then of course just the twist at the end was wild. Which actually,
Unexpected.
oh, had no idea. And then, on the surface, yeah, it's like a shock twist, but then I started to look back at the previous scenes and some of the dialogue, and I was like, oh, like thematically, it all comes together, and I was like, I'm going to need to sit on this, or maybe watch it again.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, no, it was a really good film. Yeah, mystery, thriller, drama. Yeah, really solid.
Good. Awesome. Now we're getting into the top five. Yes. So
Oh, here
we're
we go.
almost halfway there. What's on top five for you, Julian?
Alrighty, so number 5 for me is The Zone of Interest, which was for me it was such a subtle, I don't know, I look back and I'm like, it was such a quiet, subtle movie where I feel like at times you're just kind of sitting there watching things play out, and yet sound design, amazing. And just the peak, controversial, like, do we really want to see how a family lives when they're running a Nazi camp next door? Not everyone's cup of tea, but gosh, what a story to follow. Absolutely incredible. And just the juxtaposition between, this family living it up in this house that, they're provided by the government, beautiful gardens, and then next door, just over the wall, of these horrific things going on. And just, yeah, the sound design, I just couldn't get it out of my mind. It was just so incredibly haunting. Just kind of some brave filmmaking. I think director Jonathan Glazer, he's done that kind of stuff before. If I'm not mistaken, gosh, Birth, was that him that did that? Birth
Yes,
with
yes, he
Nicole
did that.
Kidman?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is not afraid to tackle some very hairy topics. So yeah, it was just a fascinating watch for me. Yeah.
Even Under the Skin, the Scarlett Johansson movie, he directed that as well.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, of
So,
course, that was my favorite movie of that year as well. So
yeah.
how
Zone of Interest
about you?
is, I think it released, I watched it last year, but obviously it was released in
Mm.
Australia this year. I not a fan of this movie at
Not a
all. I
fact. Yeah,
appreciate its
fair,
technical
fair.
achievements. It's shot well, it edited well, all of the sort of things. But as you
Mhm.
rightly said, do I care about these people? Do they deserve a movie? But yes, it has a massive, massive fan base. So I
Mhm.
can appreciate the the why the movie is so important for a massive
Mm.
critical base actually.
Yeah.
Um, my number five is Dune 2, Dune Part 2, Denis
Oh,
Villeneuve's
yeah.
sequel to Dune. I mean, that scene when Timothy Chalamet is, just announcing himself as a hero when he's, trying to tame the sea worm. Oh my God, that scene alone was worth the price of
Mhm.
the admission. It was so, so good. And again, it's
Yeah.
brilliantly cast, like, Javier Bardem,
Mhm.
Charlotte Rampling, Rebecca Ferguson, Javier
Mhm.
Bardem, like, oh my God, they're just brilliant, brilliant actors, all of them. And
Yeah.
so well shot, like, and such innovative things, like, the way that people get out of, like, their machines, or, those other things. There's no noise, and there's, like, some very
Uh,
imaginative ways. The vistas are amazing.
yeah.
I love this movie a lot, and it was good to see, apart from Christopher Nolan, who makes these big screen spectacles, which is
Mm.
consumed by like a majority of audience. I think Denis Villeneuve is one of those other directors who can really make event movies, and I love Dune
Mm.
too. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
I the
Thoughts on Dune
Dune
2?
ones. Sorry.
Your thoughts on Dune 2?
I look. They're a bit dense for me. I haven't read the books or anything. I come into them with absolutely no context. I haven't even seen the 80s movie, so they're tough for me to follow. I must admit, it's a lot of, I guess, world building. Yeah, look, I remember enjoying Dune 2 more than I did the first one, but yeah, I struggle. I struggle with them, I must admit. Pure spectacle on a level of spectacle. Oh, stunning, so
Yes,
stunning. And I mean, there's another one, right? Are we getting more?
I
Look,
think we're
I would
getting more. Yeah.
absolutely go and see more. But once they're done and I've come out, I'm like, okay, that was fine, but yeah, it doesn't really stick in my mind.
Fair enough. What do you have for number four?
Number four is Honora, which I don't know. Has it just come out? I was fortunate. I saw it when I was in Hong Kong a few weeks ago. It had already come out there. So I was like, I'm going to go and see it now. Absolutely. What a ride. I kind of suspected that it was going to be a bit more dramatic, a bit more of a drama than it ended up being. And then just such funny sequences. I was kind of really the only one laughing. I don't know if the audience, if there might have been maybe a cultural disconnect. I'm not so sure. Maybe they didn't quite get tone, but I thought it was hilarious and just filled with so many amazing characters. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but there's a
I have.
sequence where they have to look for when they have to look for a character. I must admit, I was like, gosh, they've been looking for this character for about 45 minutes. It just went on and on and on. Probably my only quibble there. But gosh, Mikey Madison, is it
Yeah,
Mikey
Mikey
Madison?
Madison.
Oh, she's just amazing. She hasn't really done too much, but she's just come out just an incredible screen presence. And surprisingly, gosh, I think it was her husband, the Russian guy, Russian character Ivan. Um, Gosh, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Mark Eidelstein.
Yeah, Mark
Eidelstein.
Idlestein. Idlestein. Yeah.
It was her movie. She absolutely killed it, but he was incredible. He was so obnoxious, so genuinely obnoxious, and yet I didn't hate him. He walked a really fine line there, like so obnoxious and despicable. But I didn't write him off as like an unlikable character, a totally unlikable character, and I just was fascinated by what he did. Um, incredible. I just loved it, and I'm so dying to see it again. To be honest.
Oh, I was fortunate to see Honora and I watched it. I had a
Mm,
complete opposite experience. I watched it at the Lido Cinema in Hawthorne here in Melbourne at a packed
mm,
theater, and the
mhm.
entire audience was laughing their guts out. It was like
Yeah.
a collective, it was the best time I had watching a movie with an audience.
Mhm.
Everyone was in on the joke, everyone was in on
Yeah.
everything. It was a fantastic experience and it was packed. There was no space to
Oh,
move, you know. It was great.
yeah.
I love this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that you said, I agree with it. I think Mikey
Mm,
Madison, I, at this point looks like she will win the Oscar for Best Actress.
mm,
She's and completely deserved. My favorite performance in the movie is from Yorov Borisov, and there
mhm.
are little moments where the camera just cuts to his face and he's just reacting to what Honora's or Annie's character is saying. It's priceless. Like he's
Yeah.
just so good, so specific. It's funny. I agree with you that search party scene went on too long. That probably would
Oh,
have been
gosh.
edited a bit, but
Mhm.
great pick. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
love Nora. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic pick. For
Amazing.
me, at number four, I have Fall Guy, the Ryan Gosling and Emily
Ah,
Blunt movie. And I just
yeah.
love watching good looking people. I just enjoy watching good looking people who also happen to be great actors, and movie stars are
Yeah.
important. Anyone who says movie stars are not important are suspect for me. So to see two of the
Yeah.
most charismatic movie stars be so good, have such good chemistry,
Mhm.
you could argue
Mhm.
it's in a great movie, but who cares? I had a good time just looking at these two, and I'll watch it
Yeah.
anytime and watch it again. The needle drops. Uh, great time. I loved the Fall Guy.
Yeah, it's so funny because considering you cheated for your number 10, I was tossing up between Fall Guy and Fly Me to the Moon because I just had so much fun. And I've heard, some people didn't like it, but I was very genuinely pleasantly surprised when I saw Fall Guy. I remember watching the trailer a couple of times and I was like, I don't actually understand what this movie is going to be about. It was very strangely edited and put together. Couldn't put my finger on what they were going to be doing. And then it came out, and I was like, that was so much fun. It was very similar to like the chemistry between the two leads, and like you said, just like beautiful people on the big screen. They were funny, they were charismatic, very funny, and like there was action. There were laughs. Like, what more can you ask for? Like, really, that's all we
Absolutely.
want, isn't it?
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to cheat again and I have another tie for number three. So if you want to cheat, you by all means you can have a tie at number three. Just letting you out there. So we are the top three, everybody. And Julian, what do you have for us at number three?
So number three for me was Anatomy of a Fall. Which I would have seen, yeah, towards the start of the year. Actually, probably around the same time as I saw Zone of Interest. So it's been a few months. So my memory is a little bit hazy, but what I do remember is absolutely loving it. Um, just the mystery of it, the courtroom scenes, which were kind of so different to American movie courtroom scenes. I'm like, I don't even know if that's really what the legal system is like over there.
Yeah.
But just the way that I was like, if this is true, that's fascinating. But if it's fictionalized, it was still an amazing watch because it did something different. Yeah, just kind of love those movies where it kind of, goes behind closed doors or, goes into those traditional relationships and marriages and kind of digs under like what's really under the surface. It's not always as it appears on the surface, and just the ambiguity of it all. Yeah, it just had me hooked. It was, yeah, and kind of took me back to those old school like '90s courtroom dramas that we don't really get so much anymore. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Fantastic performances too.
Anatomy of a Fall was in my top 10 last year, but that's because I watched it at the Melbourne
Mhm.
International Film Festival. Just so
Yeah.
people are listening, a zone of interest in Anatomy of a Fall. In Australia, we get the movies late unless we go to film festivals. So that's why we have that. Agree with
Right.
you. I love this
Yeah.
movie. I had such a good time. I think Sandra Hüller gives such a good performance. I think the fight
Mhm.
scene between her and her husband when she tells him, "You are not a victim." Oh my God, I remember watching that
Yes.
and I was like, wow, this is some
Riveting.
really good writing and acting. And
Mhm.
the courtroom scenes were bizarre. It's like, how,
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of a legal system is this? Is anyway, it was good. So no, no, I'm very inspired. Big, I'm a big champion of Anatomy of a Fall. So if people haven't watched it,
Nice.
they should. It's so good. So
Absolutely.
as I said,
Yeah.
for my number three, I have cheated because I was really struggling to pick one and I just couldn't at the spot. So there are two movies. One is The Real Pain, Jesse Eisenberg's directorial venture. It's his second
Yep.
movie directed with Kieran Culkin. It's basically a story
Mm.
about two cousins who, after the death of their grandmother, go back to a sort of trace their Jewish roots in Poland. But
Mm.
Kieran Culkin is phenomenal. Like he is so good, and
Mm.
everyone's saying he's playing his Succession extension. I don't agree. I think he's
Mm.
doing such a good performance. He's doing so many different things at the same time. He's charming, likable, annoying, obnoxious, sympathetic, indifferent, and he gives an incredible performance. I think he will win Best Supporting Actor, and I hope he does. But the
Mm.
best scene in the movie, Jesse Eisenberg gave it to himself. Is a nice dinner party
Mhm.
scene, and he's so good in it. Like this guy is such a good actor. I've always been his fan. Like I thought he was brilliant in Social Network, but in this
Yeah.
movie he's absolutely brilliant. And it's a good. I mean, it's essentially a movie about people not being able to grapple with pain, and some people can
Mm.
medicate pain away, but some people endure pain on a daily basis in real life, in real time. There's this
Mm.
last shot of Kieran Culkin sitting alone at the airport, and the camera just stays on his face, and he's just thinking. That shot just stayed with me for a few days. It was so good. Yeah. And my tie
Awesome.
is another movie
Mhm.
called All We Imagine Is As Light. This is Payal
Mhm.
Kapadia's movie. She got Best Director nomination at the Golden Globe this morning. I was so happy
That's
for it.
cool.
This is a beautiful movie about simple people living simple lives, but it's extraordinarily captures the daily mundane aspects of people of health workers and their
Mm.
relationships and the support they give to each other as women, as people.
Mm.
It captures Mumbai so vividly. It looks so beautiful. The performances are wonderful, and it hasn't come out in Australia yet. I saw it as a part of the film festival, so I won't go much into it because it's a wonderful, wonderful movie, and I really hope people in Australia can go and watch this movie. It's
Mm.
one of the very best movies of the year.
Amazing. Oh, I haven't seen them yet, so I'm really looking forward to them coming out at some point.
All right, so whoa, we're getting close. What's your number two, Julian?
Number two is I don't know if it got a cinema release here, but it's on Netflix. Will and Harper, about Will Ferrell and his best friend Harper. Which, I'd heard really good things. So I was like, okay, I'll sit down and I'll watch it. And I ended up just like sobbing on my couch. It was such a beautiful film, beautiful documentary, that showed Will Ferrell in a completely different light, a side of him that I never thought could have existed. Um, he and his best friend, who is trans, do a road trip, and gosh, it just touched on things that I feel like are almost never explored. Not that I've seen in any kind of film or documentary yet. Um, Kind of stepping into a space, when you finally when you're finally becoming who you really are, and then stepping into the spaces where you find most joy, but then not feeling comfortable there anymore. And just even like it touches on Will's privilege. It just, gosh, it kind of covered a lot of stuff. And yet, the most interesting aspects of this beautiful friendship. And I was just completely, look, maybe because I went in with very low expectations, but I came out of it thinking, yeah, like number two, or, top two movie of the year for me. So, yeah, so if you're going to watch it, grab the tissues because
I have
it's
watched it,
very,
and it's an excellent pick. I am so so happy you picked it. It's a oh my God, Julian,
mm,
you have amazing taste. This movie, people, if you haven't watched it, please go and watch it. It's heartbreaking. It's
mm,
heart aching. It's
mm,
about this. I think his friend was a head writer at SNL, and then that's how they became
yes.
friends, working at SNL together, and then
Mhm,
the whole he transitions, and then this whole the friendship still remains, and he takes him on his road trip to
mm,
reintroduce her to America. What an
mm.
amazing movie, and funny, and yeah, it's great, fantastic pick.
Very, yeah.
Love it. My number two is an animated movie called The Wild Robot. I love this movie. Lupita Nyong'o does the voice acting in this movie. It's a story about a robot who gets stranded on an island and bonds with a little duckling, I think. But it's this sweet relationship between the two, and it sort of says that love is love. You can be a person, like a living being or a robot. What you feel is feelings is something that's completely out of control of behavior of any kind. So it's a very sweet movie. It looks amazing. I cried a
Mm.
lot when this movie ended, to be honest, and
Yeah. Heard that a lot.
unbelievable movie.
Haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I've heard everyone cries.
I cried a lot. I think the ending was just so sweet. It's like, I mean, if you ever had it could be it could be different things for different people. It could be the love between two friends, the love between a pet and a pet owner, or parents and children, or friend. You could take away based on how you equate the relationship between the two as. But it's a wonderful, wonderful movie, and I really, really had the best time watching this movie.
Oh, great. Yeah, haven't seen it yet, but I'm keen. Yeah.
All right, drum roll. We are at the
Right.
finale, number one. Julian, surprise us or shock us.
Alrighty. Well, the substance for me, it's got to be the substance. Loved it. Absolutely wild ride. Absolutely. Oh, okay. Gorgeous to look at. Stunning. Just amazing on the big screen. Demi Moore, incredible, making a big comeback. Um, not subtle at all. But that's not what it's about. It's not about subtlety. And then the
Correct.
further along it goes, you're like, there was no intention of subtlety at all. The whole point is to go above, beyond, and just go wacky, go wild. And it was just such a wild ride. It got under my skin. Um, it shocked me, it surprised me, it was hilarious, and then just ended up. It was one of those movies where you come out of it at the end and you're like, oh gosh, remember, like, it started here and it ended in this completely different, wacky place. Like, you could just never have predicted that it would have ended up or gone in the direction that it went in. And just, we were, the audience that I was in, we were just howling. It was such a great experience. And got just touching on so many issues. And, I'm 41 now. So even I have those kinds of moments where you kind of, look at yourself in the mirror and you kind of you don't really recognize yourself anymore, and kind of not as elevated as what the characters went through, but gosh, it's relatable.
Julian, you don't look a day more than 31, okay? So
Well,
you
thank
don't
you.
you
That's
don't
very
have those
sweet.
issues anywhere to what Jimmy Moore has in the movie. Let me just put it out
I
there.
know I know I'm way off that point, but it's kind of, you kind of start to see little hints of, like, is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
where I'm going to end up
Exactly.
in 20
Correct.
years?
Yeah, yeah. No, I had such a good time watching this movie, and I actually watched this movie at Kino Cinemas here at like a 9:30 a.m. screening where all old people were there, and they were just
Oh no.
getting. And the climax kicked in, and you could just see the squeamishness that the entire audience felt, because I think it was like senior citizen tickets or something for like $9 or whatever. I
Yeah.
just went there because I had like a day off, and I was like, just go watch this. It was a surreal experience to watch them. Agree with everything you've said. I think Demi Moore gives phenomenal. Margaret Qualley is fantastic. What performances. Coraline Fajette, the director, brilliantly directed. The heck out of this movie. The music and all of the, and even the tricks she plays up is like these wide angle close up shots, and
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid eating prawns or shrimp, and it's like, oh god, it's gross, it's in your face. And every time Demi
Yeah.
Moore looks at her in the mirror, you can just see how she's not seeing herself, but how she thinks the world sees her. And she's like
Yeah.
61 or whatever, but she looks fucking
Yeah.
fantastic. Like, my
Yeah.
god, she looks
Amazing.
incredible.
She
Amazing.
does. Oh,
So, no, Substance didn't make it into my top 10, but I love this movie. Full endorsement for this one. All right, my number
yeah.
one is already, which is on your number four, Honora. I love this
Yeah.
movie. It's for me the best time I had at the cinema. Maybe because the audience was so
Mhm.
engaged that I can never forget that
Yeah.
experience when I watched it. It was funny. It was, and the good thing about Sean Baker, which he does consistently in almost all the movies that he's made, is that he takes a sympathetic look at sex work and sex workers, and he never makes them victims. He never makes us feel sorry
Mm.
for them. He gives them agency.
No.
He gives them dignity. Mikey Madison, what a performance! Yorov Borisov, brilliant actor. I have a lot of love for this movie, and that's what I want to see when I go to cinemas. I want a movie that makes me feel good, but also gives me a little bit
No.
of reality check. That ending scene, the climax was not what I was expecting at
No.
all. It just was a gut in the
Same.
punch, and that scene where she's crying
Mhm.
is like, oh. So no, for me, I had the best time
Incredible.
at Aurora.
Oh gosh, yeah. I did have a feeling that it was one of those kinds of movies where if I was in a packed cinema and everyone's on the same page, it would have just been
Yeah.
a wild experience. Obviously it didn't impact my enjoyment of it, but I was kind of, and it was similar for me, like what you had with The Substance. I saw it, and it was like during the day, it was a bunch of old people. And like I said, I was in Hong Kong, so I didn't know if it was like a cultural thing or if it was just because they were older people in their 50s and 60s. They didn't quite get that wavelength. But I was sitting there, I was like chuckling to myself the whole way through. I could feel myself trying to contain my laughing because I would have been the only one laughing out loud. And I just thought it was the one of the funniest things I'd seen all year.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I don't know if I would have loved the movie as much as I did if the audience was different. Yeah, it would
Yeah,
probably be number two, but yeah, definitely not. The experience was a contributing factor for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So now we're going to play a game, Julian. Are you ready? Okay, I'm asking you
I
10
think so. Yeah.
questions.
Look, let's just dive in. We'll dive in. Let's do it.
Trust me, you'll be fine. Okay. Um, hang on. Okay. What was the last book you read?
The last book I read. Okay, so I'm really, really bad because I don't read very often, and I've got about five unfinished books. Like I get partway through and then put it down and never go back. I think the last book that I read all the way through might have been, it was probably a biography, maybe Anna Kendrick's or Busy Phillips. I can't remember the timeline of which one
Okay.
I read last, but it was one
All
of
right.
those two.
Okay. Your three celebrity crushes.
Oh gosh, Henry Cavill, Paul Rudd. Oh gosh, a third one. Channing Tatum. Such an obvious choice, but yeah.
Okay. If you had to get three dinner party guests, dead or alive, who would those three be?
Oh, okay. I would love to have over Alanis Morissette. She's my favorite singer.
Yeah.
Incredible, incredible writer, songwriter. Um, I'm gonna be absolutely controversial and say Hitler because I don't like him, obviously, but I would just want to know what the fuck were you thinking? Like, what the
Yes.
fuck were you going through? What was going on in your head? And a third one would be actually my granddad, my mum's mum, because he died when my mum was pregnant with me. I never got to meet him. So, gosh, sorry, I don't know if it was did you say celebrity or
No, no, no.
famous
Three.
person or
Any. It
just
could be anybody. Yeah, yeah. Anybody
anyone?
dead or
Okay.
alive. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it would be him because yeah, I just missed out on meeting him.
A movie that changed your life.
That would be A Nightmare on Elm Street because I watched it way too young, and it was basically what kickstarted my love for movies. It just terrified me to the point where I couldn't sleep. I wouldn't take a bath. Yeah, it just that Freddy Krueger was in my nightmares and stuff, and I just was terrified, but also fascinated that that's what a movie could do, and that was the impact that a movie could have on me for such a long time. Like you watch it once, but then it was like months of, I was terrified. So yeah, that was, and then put me on this path of loving films and how the impact that they can have.
So, a movie performance that changed your life.
Oh, interesting movie performance that changed my life. Probably, maybe not so much changed my life as in I started doing things differently, but I would say probably Charlize Theron in Monster, which it was like she physically changed, but then also her gesture or her physicality. Like I couldn't recognize her. I did not know if I was not told that that was her, I would not have recognized her. Her mannerisms, her gesture, it was just a completely different person kind of in a scary way because I mean, you look at her now. I feel like she can do anything, but
Yeah.
like because she was so glamorous and gorgeous, and
Yeah.
then she was brave enough to go, ugly, but she also changed her personality, her
Personality.
yeah
Yeah.
mannerisms. Yeah,
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling?
Reynolds sense of humor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Kill, marry, or hook up. So from these three people, you had to kill one, marry one, or hook up. Who would they be?
Okay.
Hugh Jackman,
Okay.
Paul Mescal, and Peter Dutton.
Peter Dutton. Okay, so I'd probably marry Hugh Jackman. I feel like he would be just like a real sensible husband. And he could sing and dance. He'd be very entertaining to be around
Insane.
every day.
True.
So I'm going to
True.
spend my life with him.
Yeah.
I'd hook up with Paul Mascal. Sorry, how do you pronounce it? Mascal?
Paul
Mascal?
Mescal. Yeah, Paul Mescal.
Mascal. Hook up with him and kill Peter Dutton.
Okay. Your favorite holiday destination?
Oh, favorite, as in I've already been there and I love
Or
the
you want to
place.
go? It could be anything. Yeah.
Or, you know what? I love New York. I'm a big sucker for a big city. So, yeah, been there before, but love it. Would go back. I feel like, you go there once, you're barely scratching the surface.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
And the last final two questions: Beyonce or Taylor Swift? Pick one.
Oh, no. Okay, look, I am a huge mad respect for Beyonce. Absolutely love her, but I'm a bit of a sucker for Taylor, to be honest.
Okay. And if what is the one thing you're looking forward most to in 2025?
Oh, good question. Gosh, I actually don't have much planned yet. I really don't plan that far ahead. Although I am in the middle of planning a trip over to Portugal. My best friend is from there. She's going back to visit family. She's from Madeira. And just a couple of weekends ago, she was like, come along. And it's just lining up. Airfares were cheap. I've got the time off and it's going to be summer over there. So yeah, that'll be a big one for me. Haven't locked everything in, but yeah, that's certainly high up on the list.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, Julian, as you know, I can talk to you for hours about
Yeah.
cinema because I think we kind of on the same wavelength for
Oh
those.
yeah, yeah.
But it's a wrap now. Thank you so much for dropping by. I really enjoy doing
Oh,
this every year with you, and I hope we can do it as long
thanks.
as I'm running this podcast. It's always
Amazing.
good fun to see you and talk cinema with you.
You too.
And I wish you all the best for Christmas. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Before you go, do you want to plug your socials or anything you're working on or?
Sure thing. I am on Instagram. I probably use that the most. Jumpship83. And then my blog, Real Review Roundup, which I contribute to as much as I possibly can. Bit hard with the, day job, but as you understand with the day job and a podcast. Yeah, track me down on those. I'm always posting thoughts, feedback, anytime I'm at the movies. It's pretty much all I do. So,
Awesome. All right. Now, before you go, we'll take a quick photo. But thank you, Julian, and have a lovely Christmas. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us. If you haven't already, kindly please subscribe to our Spotify channel and our YouTube channel on Let's Talk series. We are also on Apple Music and Amazon. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, we are on Let's Talk Melbourne. And as always, we welcome any feedback, suggestions, and comments. So we look forward to hearing from you.